I think my juices flow all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know as much as I know.
Right now, we've been able to stuff the stuff.
The curse is broken. NC State fans, finally. Finally.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
I mean, that's a triple play.
The Wolfpack ain't for soft. It ain't for soft people.
There are a lot of great sound bites from former NC State coach Chuck Amato, but that's got to be my favorite. Happy Thanksgiving. It is my favorite holiday. It is my second favorite week of the year. Nothing tops the start of the NCAA tournament for me in men's basketball. But this holiday, you've got turkey, you got family, you've got lasagna, you've got stuffing, you've got stuffed mushrooms, you name it, you've got it. Enjoy it all on Thursday. And you've got football, because on Saturday, for the 8th time in 10 years, we've got NC State and North Carolina closing out the regular season. Game's going to be an 8 o'clock start over at Carter Finley Stadium. Joe Ovius and I will be on a very special OG After Dark, coming to you live from the Breeze Through with your reactions. Join us, please, over there at the Breeze Through. The Breeze Through's got you covered. They're going to have me awake for this game. Dark roast coffee. They're going to have you ready for this game with the great beer selection that they have. And they're going to have your tailgate taken care of, all the different snacks, ice, and everything else that they have over at the Breeze Through. Adam does such a great job. Check him out right there on the corner of Edwards Mill and Trinity. And again, come out and see us, because we will be there for a very special OG After Dark. This game normally makes or breaks NC State's season. I think I can make the argument for the first time, maybe in the last 30 or 50 years, that it doesn't. I'm going to have that conversation with Josh Goodson, RTP Mortgage, our friend Josh Goodson, who actually graduated from Carolina, but is a big State fan. We're going to talk more about that. But first, let's talk about the history between these two schools, because there are a lot of things that North Carolina can be proud of. The all-time series record here, though, let me tell you, people, you've got Michael Jordan, you've got basketball, you've got field hockey, you've got women's soccer, you've got so many things that you can throw at NC State fans. You do not need to throw, but look at the all-time record when State and Carolina get together. You guys, you're not even our real rival. Okay, that's a terrible voice. But here, the truth of the matter is, North Carolina leads the all-time series 68, 38, and 6. Okay. In ACC play, it's 37 and 33 if you're watching on the YouTubes. So that means before the ACC, in the 1940s, 30s, 20s, 10s, 1900s, and 1890s, when, let's be honest, it wasn't even really the same game that we know today. That before, we're still talking about some leather helmet and forward pass issues here. Carolina went 31-5-6, and most of those games were also played at Carolina. So awesome. 31-5-6. Overall, 68, 38, and 6. I get it. Those are all things to brag about. Truth of the matter is, this series since 1953, since the start of the ACC, has been pretty equal. 37 and 33. If you want to go to when Mac Brown first got to Carolina in 1988, State has a slight edge, 19 and 16. And then since 2000, State has an edge, 14 and 9. Dave Doeren is 6 and 4 against Carolina, and Mac Brown, over his 2 different tenures in this particular series at Carolina, he is 7 and 7 against NC State. So again, Carolina, you have a lot of things that you can brag about. I really don't see the merits of being really happy about a 31-5-6 record in before 1953. But you know what? You got to do you got to run your own race here. So I get it. Normally in this game, it is determined by one particular statistic, and it just goes to show you how weird the last 2 games have been in this series, because the last 2 games in this series have been won by NC State. Well, why is that weird, Joe? Because if you look for 7 years from 2014 through 2020, the winner of this game was the one that ran the ball more successfully. And last 2 years, the team that's run the ball more successfully has been Carolina, but they haven't won those games. State won, you'll remember last year in overtime, the Ben Finley game. They go to Chapel Hill. State wins 30-27 in overtime. Carolina had an edge, 118-59. State couldn't run the ball at all. 2 years ago, the game in Raleigh, the Sam Howell's last game, Carolina had a 300-113 rushing advantage, and State still came back and won that game in miraculous fashion, 34-30. But if you look every year between 2014 and 2020, the winner of the game was the one that ran for more yards. Now, will that pattern hold up for Saturday? That's probably a good thing if you're a Carolina fan, because you feel like with Amari Hampton, who is tied for the national lead in rushing yards this year, which would be a fairly amazing accomplishment considering who the quarterback is and considering what we thought Carolina's offense was going to be this year. That would be something else if Hampton ends up leading the country in rushing. If this becomes a running game, NC State's in trouble. Michael Allen was the latest running back to leave the team this week. They had already lost Jordan Houston earlier in the year when he decided he was going to preserve his year of eligibility. Allen is just choosing to enter the transfer portal without playing in this game or the bowl game for NC State. So, but if you look at NC State and what they've done with their running game this year, now it is different with Brendan Armstrong at quarterback, but State's averaging 148 rushing yards per game. That's 11th in the ACC. But when you look at the game log and you look at what they've been able to do this year, again, it's been on the uptick of late with 266 yards against Wake and 188 last week against Virginia Tech. But there have been some bleak rushing yardage games this year for NC State. So if that stat holds up, now the flip side of that, of course, is that Carolina's run defense, it isn't always the best part of their defense, as we saw in Virginia and the loss down at Georgia Tech, which was just kind of wild how much Georgia Tech was able to run the ball against the Tar Heels. So things to look at. I do think this feels like, as the conversation I'll get into with Josh Goodson, this feels like an ending. This feels like a chapter closing on the rivalry with, not only the players on the field. You have Drake May playing in likely his final game with Carolina. I mean, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense if you're the number 1 overall pick or number 2 pick to play in a bowl game. That's not going to have any consequence to Carolina's season. Peyton Wilson, who I think we need to start talking about as one of the best players in school history. Yes, he's been there for 6 years. Yes, he did get an extra year of eligibility. But what he's done this year is nothing short of amazing, particularly when the defense to start the season wasn't great. And to see the way that the defense has progressed as the year has gone along it's truly remarkable. Wilson, second in the ACC with tackles for loss with 15.5. He leads the team in tackles this year, man. It feels like he leads the world with tackles with 123 this year in the 11 games. Carolina's Cedric Gray actually second with 104. Wilson's just been, from a leadership standpoint and from standing up for Brendan Armstrong after the Marshall game where he had been booed when he came onto the field for a goal line sequence, from just the way after the Duke loss, he had talked about, hey, this is not who we are. And, after losing in Durham 24-3, NC State's turned their season around. And if you would have told me that day that State, who was 4-3 coming off a miserable loss to Duke, and Carolina would have the same record coming into this game, I would have said, you're on crazy pills. Carolina was 6-0 at the time and running hot and looking good. But the mistakes started piling up for them, starting with the Virginia game, where they're a 24-point home favorite, and then the road loss to Georgia Tech. And then last week, they lost to Clemson in a game that would probably look familiar to some State fans. There were some interesting officiating decisions in that game in Clemson's favor. Also, an unbelievable play by Clemson to run down Amari Hampton at the goal line. That really turned the game. Carolina had a chance to take a 14-0 lead there. And just like NC State this year, Clemson is not an explosive offense. So that really turned the game. And Hampton ended up having an outstanding game, but he did turn the ball over twice. Carolina ends up losing down to Clemson. So here they are, a pair of 8-3 teams. I was singing Journey's Separate Ways and tweeting about their separate ways, because over the last 2 years, Carolina with Drake May, with his high-powered offense, and Mac Brown and the unbelievable recruiting classes, they're 17-8. NC State is 16-8 with 5 different quarterbacks. So it's truly been a study in contrast to see these two programs who have traditionally been right around 500, and two programs that, quite frankly, Carolina hasn't won the ACC since 1980. NC State hasn't won the ACC since 1979. So these are two teams that mostly care about each other. And that's going to lead to my conversation with Josh Goodson about, normally this is a game that will make or break NC State season. I don't see it that way. Josh has a different opinion. So we will get to Josh and talk a little bit about that. And I get it. That's what this area is all about. It is about the dynamic. It is about the people that you work with. It is about your family members. Some are State, some are Carolina, the people you work with. Some are State, some are Carolina, the people that you hang out with on your text threads, all of these things. I understand that. I wouldn't diminish this season by saying if State loses on Saturday, that the season was somehow a failure, because it wasn't. Quite frankly, to get to 8 wins was remarkable for this NC State team with everything that they went through. But we'll get to that with Josh Goodson after we sell a few ads. As you know, it's been an interesting year, and we are thankful for all of you out there, because we couldn't be here without you. And more than 5,000 subscribers now on the YouTubes. We have surpassed 400,000 downloads on our podcast platforms. If you don't know, that puts us in the top 5% of all podcasts, not just sports podcasts, not just local podcasts. So appreciate all of you. Many things to be thankful for here on Thanksgiving. There's a chance you're going to spend your holiday maybe at a friend's house, right? You're going to see a great TV room next to the kitchen, maybe an open space. And you're like, man, I could really use a new place to live. Well, best way to do that is to check out Hometown Realty. It's myhtr.com. They make it really easy for you. It's buy or sell. There's a toggle right in the middle. Can't miss it. HTR is going to get you in on the new construction in this area, which is really important. More than 60% of their business is in new construction. All of Garner and South Raleigh is changing. And if you want to take advantage of the best deals, go with Hometown Realty. Again, it's myhtr.com. And as I record this on a Tuesday, Whitaker and Hamer is taking care of a traffic violation for me in Wake County District Court. I appreciate them doing that. If you have any kind of legal issues, you can go with Josh Whitaker, Joe Hamer. Josh is a big State fan. State needs those lawyers. I need a lawyer. If you need one, go to wh.lawyer. And I mentioned that we are going to have a conversation with Josh Goodson. That's RTP Mortgage, rtpmortgage.com. Look, you might not know what you can afford. So before you go to Hometown Realty, you need to know a ballpark figure. Give Josh a call. It's 252-361-1415. That's 252-361-1415. He's with RTP Mortgage. It's rtpmortgage.com. And you want to have an idea how much you can afford. You want to have an idea. Maybe you're in a place right now, you want to move. Hey, what can we sell this for? What do we need to sell this for in order to buy a new place? These are all things that Josh understands. Maybe you're looking down the road. Maybe you're looking for the spring, but you need to get your credit in order. Best thing to do, give Josh a call. Figure out what your options are. It's 252-361-1415. Look, I know it's not easy keeping track of all of the things that you have to do to take care of your home. I was reminded this week that, yes, termites are a part of that equation. And new for Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority, is a termite solutions. So check them out. It's bugsbite.com. Bugsbite.com. What they're going to do is they're going to solve your termite issues before they start. I had termites. You know where they came from? The mulch bags that I bought from one of these stores. You know what I mean? So I wasn't happy when I was caught with that termite bill with actual termites. Head that stuff off of the pass. You know what Mosquito Authority did today? Came out to my house, and where did they put the termite stuff? In the mulch. Not under the house, not in the crawl space. They're trying to be preventative. Take care of your number one investment. That's your home. Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority, the best way to do it. Check them out. It's bugsbite.com. And Football season is over, but Christmas is just around the corner. And you want to get the best gifts for the big sports fan, the big state fan in your life. Easy. I got an easy solution for you. Go to homefieldapparel.com. Homefieldapparel.com. You're going to see all kinds of great jackets, hats, shirts, sweatpants, you name it, they have it. All kinds of classic logos, great stuff from Homefield Apparel. Use the promo code OG23 and you will save 15% on your initial order. They've got all kinds of other sales going on too. So check them out. It's homefieldapparel.com. Joining me now on the in-person Heister Automotive Group hotline in the Eford Studios, Josh Goodson, RTP Mortgage. Josh Goodson, Carolina grad. Josh Goodson, State fan. This is your week, man.
It's my Super Bowl.
Your Super Bowl, State Carolina.
Everyone plays one.
Everyone does play a Super Bowl. I'm glad you come around on all of my cockamamie theories. I appreciate that. All right. So you and I in the Garner Golf Gambling Group have had an existential conversation this week about the meaning of the NC State and North Carolina football game. And I got here in 1993. I would say to you, every game since 1993 has either made or broken NC State's football season. Mm-hmm. I am here to tell you today, and I'm here to die on this hill right now. I do not think this game on Saturday night makes or breaks NC State's season. The fact that they got to 8 wins, the fact that they recovered the way that they did, not only after the Duke game.
Who said they would get to 8 wins before the season?
Okay, first of all, Josh, you were right.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, if you read on Saturday Road, you would see that Joe Giglio predicted NC State to go 8-4 this season.
You're welcome.
That was all because of you. You had convinced me. I thought they were going to go 6-6 this year. You convinced me to pick 8-4. I picked 8-4. And for your sake, I hope that 8-4 is correct. It's incorrect. But I would say to you, even if State loses on Saturday, how could we not qualify this season as a success? To get to 8 wins the way that they did with MJ Morris benching himself. Don't forget now, they're starting running back Jordan Houston at the beginning of the year, benching himself, both for the same reasons, trying to preserve a year of eligibility. Now Michael Allen, one of their running backs, leaving the team for whatever we think of Michael Allen, and there's plenty of fans out there who've been clamoring for more Michael Allen and whatever else is to that. And now you have the situation with Brendan Armstrong. He's back. He was start, then he was out. Now he's back in. He's done really well. You have the situation with their defense where, quite frankly, at the beginning of the year, they're getting gashed by UConn's lousy running back, and then Notre Dame looked like the freaking 89 Niners against them. And now all of a sudden, they've cleaned all those things up. They've won 8 games. They're back in the bowl. What state Coach D is giving us shit, be happy we won, is giving us scared money, don't make no money. What else is there, man?
Not all 8-4 seasons are created equal.
I even wrote that because they went 8-4 last year and they needed to beat Carolina last year.
Doesn't mean anything in terms of it might change which bowl you go to.
Maybe.
It'll allow for people.
Carolina is always going to be a bigger draw.
It will allow for people to talk junk to their UNC friends and vice.
That's a real thing.
It's a real thing. It will actually allow, if they win, it'll allow Dave Doeren to get that sweet little top 25 CFP bonus. That he's likely going to get, because I imagine they'll be ranked. We're recording this on Tuesday.
Yeah,
I imagine they'll be ranked tonight in that at the bottom, and if they
should be,
and if they stay in that, which a win would imply that they stay in that, he'll be due to get whatever, was it 50 or 70?
50.
Which I don't think he cares about that, but it's a thing.
That would be nice to get 50 grand and not care about it.
However, I think with the way the season's gone, what's Dave's biggest issue?
Normally,
he doesn't win the right games.
Correct. He wins games, but not the ones that necessarily the fans want to see him win.
He doesn't win the right games, and that and it's different from year to year. This year it's going to ultimately be the Louisville was the right game you needed to win, right? I mean,
we can't relitigate.
No, but what I'm getting at, so he doesn't win the right games. I think after you show that you can beat Clemson, you can beat Miami, who you haven't
never beat before. Yeah,
you can go to Winston-Salem,
which they had never, he'd done once.
They don't do that.
Yeah.
Then you can go to Blacksburg, and I know that winning in Lane Stadium is not like it used to be, but like
still,
you had to go up there, and they were still Virginia Tech was still playing for something, and you went up there and dominated. The final score doesn't look like it. You do all that, and then now you have your hated rival that you've gotten over on the last couple years whenever you were like not supposed to be in the game, not supposed to win. I don't know if anybody's necessarily saying State should win this game, but this is definitely a should with everything that's happened prior to now. For you to give up all that goodwill and all those good graces of like, maybe we've gotten over the hump of winning like when we're supposed to and we're feeling good and we're riding the momentum. If they lose this weekend, you're not.
Does it matter how they play in the game then to you? Like if they play well and lose,
I wish they could because UNC still has a really good like the State does something really well.
UNC has more talent than NC State. They have a better team than NC State.
State does something really well, play defense.
Yeah.
UNC does something really well, play offense. If UNC's offense is playing well, you're going to lose to them.
Right.
That's just a part of it. So no, I just don't agree with the. I think the way that your season builds to certain games matters. And the fact that we've gotten to this point the way that we got here, and also the way that UNC looks to be getting to this point as well, struggling on fumes. Is Matt going to retire? All these other things.
Yeah.
I think it would, being at home at night, all these dynamics make it to where I do think it means a lot more now than like maybe you're implying it should mean.
All right. So if Dave Doeren calls you after this game, and says, "Hey, I got a Michigan State deal on the table. You're friends with Dave Doeren. Let's go to the fantasy world where Dave is your friend, right?" And he says, "Hey, man, I got a job offer from Michigan State. They're gonna, I mean, heck, realistically they would double him up, right? He basically makes $5 million here, so he's gonna get doubled up. His youngest son is gonna graduate from Cardinal Gibbons this year, so you're not gonna have any kids in high school anymore. So I mean, that's a factor too, right?" What would you tell him? What would you tell your friend to do in that situation?
Take the money.
Take the money.
Mm-hmm. If it's that big of a jump.
Is Michigan State the same job as State though, or no? Because we don't think they'll play Ohio State and Michigan on an annual basis.
They'll probably play Michigan every year.
They're going to have to play Michigan every year. Because I think one of Dave's big frustrations has been who he had been in the division with here. Well, that's right. So why would you go somewhere else and bang your head up against a wall?
Well, it's the money,
right?
If it's $5 million versus $7 million,
not that big of a difference.
10's. I mean, all of his generational wealth,
right?
let's not act like him getting the money at State he's getting is not like setting him up for.
I remember his agent calling me during the Tennessee thing, and he said that Tennessee offered him $1 million more than Dave was making at State, and he was like, $1 million is a lot. He goes, but he turned it down, and I was like, well, probably because they're crazy at Tennessee, like they're extra crazy.
Well, and I think
you think State fans are crazy.
And we actually had this. You probably saw the text going back and forth this morning in the G4 text group. This was kind of your conversation. I think Dave has gotten State to a point where they're not on Clemson's terms.
No,
like Clemson's A level is still better than State's A level. If Clemson's firing on all cylinders, you're not expecting to beat them,
right?
And that's also 95% of other college football teams,
right? But
I think from where he's sitting, they've won the second most ACC games since 2017. He's like kind of got to the mountaintop where like now 1 out of 3 or 4 years we should be able to punch with these guys. To go to Michigan State, to have to like start over, to maybe take 5, 7, 10 years to get where maybe we're punching with Michigan. That doesn't seem like a lot of fun. And it's the same thing. Like if you told me like he was going to Mississippi State, I'd be like,
I immediately canceled out the Mississippi State rumor. But, like I don't Starkville.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Come on. No, Dave does have some roots in the Big Ten, so that's where I could see some of that. Dave turned down the Ole Miss job a couple of years ago too. Like that same year, Ole Miss, Washington State. He had some chances to get out of here, and he didn't take them. Now his kids were still in school, and that's a big thing for him, obviously. It'll be interesting to see. It just kind of feels like this game feels like the end of an era to me on Saturday. You got Mac, who's 72. I mean, I don't know what he's going to do, but I mean, you want to keep doing this stuff, especially now that you don't have Sam Howell or Drake May in the holster there. And then, you've got Peyton Wilson, after 6 years and his own history with Carolina and almost going there, and just the way he's kind of willed and carried this team and been a great leader for them. It'll be emotional for him. Hopefully they won't do something stupid like with Phillip Rivers and retire his number before the game and watch him lose to freaking Maryland.
If oranges thrown on the field.
Yeah. Oh God. Some of the dumb things NC State's done. That's pretty high on the list. It's just, and you have Stanford and Cal coming next year, and stupid SMU, and it just feels like Boo Corrigan could actually be gone too. And Kevin Guskowitz could be at Michigan State with Dave Doeren. I don't know.
Randy Woodson,
right? Yeah, he's on a schedule himself. It just feels like one of those okay, this feels like it's a big off season, and it's just a big off season for both schools. UNC having to do the quarterback stuff, and State's getting rid of the $25K a year. Yeah, that sounds great. That probably but also probably more guys handicap in the program. The State's going to have a lot more attrition this year than they've had before. So, just a quick context to that: at this time last year, the person who was running the collective made a promise that they were going to spend $25,000 to every scholarship player. That sounds correct. On the roster. I don't know if that was all delivered, but that was what the plan was. And that's why you saw as many players who I remember last year we were sitting like, God, the culture that NC State has is so good. No one's leaving. Devin Carter was like the only guy that transferred. Right. It's like, God, that just, these guys are just bought in. Sumo and it's Devin Carter. Actually, they literally are bought in. Like that's right. And listen, I think the actual purpose of it meant well. Yeah, and it was supposed to be like, hey, we're treating all for one for all, Three Musketeer bullshit. But now you have Peyton Wilson in theory getting paid the same now Peyton's making more from other entities, but just from a pure Peyton's making the same as the third string cornerback or whatever. And I think Dave's kind of shifted his philosophy too, just as we've seen in the recruitment of Jonathan Paylor. I think that's probably the right thing to do. Yeah. So we'll see how this all ends up working out, because quarterback's going to be an issue, and that's fine. There's guys out there you got to adopt. Does Tony Gibson stay? Like these are big things. Yeah, if I would argue he's more important. The problem if Dave goes to Michigan State in the Big Ten, they have funny money. So if he went and took $10 million and he said, "Hey Tony, I'll pay you $3 million," unless NC State says, "Hey, you want to be the guy," or you'll be the head coach. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. It just feels there's a lot. No, there's a lot going on, and in the conference and just everything, it feels like the end of an era. So I'm perfectly honest with you. I'm going to go Saturday night. I will probably be inside for the first half, and then I'll do my usual. I'll go at halftime. I'll go sit at the RV lot, sit by the fire. It is going to be cold. I saw it's going to be like 30, 40 degrees or whatever and Saturday night. Pay $15-$16 for a beer and just watch the game on the big screen there and kind of enjoy it and process it and take it all in, because it does feel like the end of an era to me. So I'm excited. I'm still a sucker. A good college football atmosphere, and I think it'll definitely be that. Like I still college football or college sports is like changing from that a lot. Like how many basketball tournaments are being played like in front of nobody just to have all these neutral site things. A good college football atmosphere still gets it for me. So, all right. Well, Josh, happy Thanksgiving in the immortal words of Chuck Amato. Yeah. Appreciate it. Enjoy the bird on Thursday, and I will see you Saturday over at Carter Finley Stadium. As always, if you're not already, follow us on Apple, Spotify, the Googles, 5 stars only. And of course, right here, hit that subscribe button. You can do it. Follow us on the YouTubes. We reached more than 5,000 subscribers on our OG Media YouTube channel this week. Great celebration for us here at the OG Media Company. And of course, we are very thankful for all of you for following us and supporting us here at the OG Media Company. Happy Thanksgiving. See you guys on Saturday.
Wolfpack ain't for soft. It ain't for soft people.